Welcome to Banik OCS classes for Indian polity on civil service. We had gone up to the salient feature part. Then this much we had discussed the sources. Perhaps we are continuing with these sources. Let me repeat the sense. You have seen that we have borrowed a lot of provisions from different democratic constitutions in the world at that point of time. Most important provisions that we have borrowed is Canadian Constitution and the type of political system that we have today. A quasi-federal system has been borrowed from the Canadian Constitution. Strong center, federation with strong center. And the federation with strong center is a concept that is borrowed from the Canadian Constitution. That means the center is in a stronger position than the states in many respects, there are more subjects in the union list than the state list. And the center has also exclusive authority over the union subjects in the union list. And the third factor is that center can legislate on the state list in certain circumstances, like during the operation of national emergency or when Rajya Sabha passes a resolution to make legislation on the state list, or in if two or more states make a request, then Parliament can legislate on the state list. During financial emergency also, all the money bills are reserved for the consideration of the President, and also various aspects center can make legislation on the state list. And the emergency power also is there, where the state can control, the center can control the state government. So what I mean to say that central or the center or the union government is in a much more superior position than the states. So that is borrowed. Then vesting residuary power with the center. Residuary powers refers to the powers that are not mentioned in the three lists, so that are assigned to the center, and it is the reason why we call our system as a quasi-federal system. Appointment of governor of the state by the center, although governor is the constitutional head of the state, yet he is appointed by the center, and it is a unitary provisions. So that's why India is called a quasi-federal country. So most of the provisions, as you see, you can see that are a features of a quasi-federal provisions that are borrowed only from the Canadian Constitution. Then advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court, also a provision that is provided under Article 143 of Indian Constitution, under which article the President seeks advice from the Supreme Court of India, not only on constitutional issues but also on pre-constitutional issues. And the advisory advice tendered by the Supreme Court in this regard is not binding upon the President. So the reason is that the Supreme Court is the sole interpreter of the Constitution of India, and hence this power is there. We shall have a discussion on this power when we will come to the chapter Supreme Court of India. Then single citizenship is also borrowed. Single citizenship is mostly borrowed from the UK Constitution and also the Canadian Constitution. So whenever there are options, like in the recently concluded ASO examination, there was a question that single citizenship is borrowed from which constitution. We had made the answer UK because the most prominent constitution that we have been inspired is UK Constitution. So therefore, but the Canadian Constitution is also a source of single citizenship. Then Irish Constitution may say we have borrowed directive principle of state policy. So we have borrowed the directive principle of state policy that comprehends views India as a welfare state. Most of the provisions that are mentioned in this part makes India a welfare state. We have borrowed it from Irish Constitution of 1937. We have also borrowed the method of election that is mentioned in Article 55 clause 3 of the Indian Constitution, mentions Article 55, Clause 3. So method proportional representation by means of single transferable vote by means of single transferable vote in secret ballot that we have borrowed from the the Irish Constitution. Then nomination of members to Rajya Sabha also, that unique provisions provided under Article 80 of the Indian Constitution, that President shall nominate 12 members to Rajya Sabha from arts, science, social service and literature. So that we have borrowed. So we have borrowed 3 provisions from the Irish Constitution mostly. Then from Australian Constitution we have borrowed concurrent list, is a common list containing 52 subjects now, on which subjects the centre and state can legislate equally. So that is the things, but if there is a contradiction between the central law and state law over the subjects in the concurrent list, then the central law prevails over the state law. But Supreme Court has evolved many doctrines, like doctrine of harmonious construction, where it is provided that state law, when contradicts to the central law, will be examined by the court, and the court will decide to what extent the state law will prevail, will be rejected or will be undermined. That is the things. Okay, concurrent list is borrowed from the Australian Constitution. Joint sitting of Parliament is a unique provision under Article 108 of the Indian Constitution. Is taken from the Australian Constitution. Under Article 108, President summons a joint sitting when there is a deadlock between the two houses over a particular bill, especially an ordinary bill, because there will be no joint sitting on money bill and constitutional amendment bill in the Parliament. So President summons when there is a disagreement between the two houses over a bill on any related to any matter, then the joint sitting is summoned, and joint sitting is usually presided over by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. And if it is not there, he is not there, then the Deputy Speaker or Deputy Chairperson of Rajya Sabha or any other member appointed by the President to chair over the joint sitting. So that is a unique provision. We have borrowed it from the Australian Constitution. Then Article 301 contains the freedom of trade and commerce, that we have also borrowed. Freedom of trade and commerce. The freedom of trade and commerce across the country shall be free, that is provided. Okay, so these are the 3 provisions we have also borrowed from the Australian Constitution. Then from Weimar Constitution, that is German Constitution of 1949, we have borrowed a single most important provision, that is suspension of fundamental rights during emergency. Students' fundamental rights are suspended during national emergency under Article 358 and 359. Under Article 358 or Article 19, that is right to freedom, is automatically suspended if the national emergency is imposed on the ground of war and external aggression. And under 359, the President can notify for the suspension of other fundamental rights. But remember, in no circumstances Article 20 and 21 can be suspended. That has been included in the Constitution by 44th Amendment Act 1978. Okay, so that is suspension of fundamental rights. But remember, the emergency provision is borrowed from the Government of India Act 1935. Okay, next USSR Constitution or Russian, Soviet Russia Constitution, that is now Russia Fundamental Duties in Part IVA has been taken from Russian Constitution. The ideal of justice that we have already discussed in preamble has been borrowed from the Russian Constitution. So we have borrowed 2 parts, 2 features from the Russian Constitution, 3, because 5-year planning, 5-year plans have also been borrowed from the Russian Constitutions. So we have borrowed 3 provisions also from the Russian Constitution. And French Constitution, we have borrowed the most important aspect of our polity is republic. The President of India is elected, hence India is a republic, and this provision has been borrowed from the French Constitution. And ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity that have been an inherent part of the French Revolution in the 18th century has been borrowed from the French Constitution, or in fact French Revolution. Equality, liberty, and fraternity, the two interrelated, inseparable provisions of the Constitution. One is non-existent without the other. Okay, so we shall discuss more when we come to the chapter Fundamental Rights. These are the provisions that has been borrowed, we have discussed. Then from South African Constitution we have borrowed also a lot of things. Procedure of amendment under Article 368 has been borrowed from the South African Constitution. The Constitution is amended in a special majority under Article 368, and this provision is borrowed from the South African Constitution. Then election of members of Rajya Sabha under Article 80, that is provided proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. This provision has been taken from the South African Constitution. So we have borrowed two provisions mostly from the South African Constitution, only two provisions. And from the Japanese Constitution we have borrowed procedure established by law. It is mentioned in Article 21 of the Constitution, where it is said that right to life and liberty, personal liberty of a person, shall not be taken away except procedure established by law. So Indian Constitution is based upon procedure established by law, not due process of law, for your reference, for your understanding. So due process of law means the law's definition, and law is adjudged by the court to establish whether the law is made according to the Constitution or not, and whether the law is just, fair, and reasonable or not. But under procedure established by law, the court will only establish that the law in question is not violative of the Constitution, does not transgress the Constitution, does not contravene the Constitution. That's all. It cannot establish the fairness, reasonableness, and justness of the law. So that is the difference between due process of law and procedure established by law. But in the recent time changing socio-political environment, the Supreme Court is adopting due process of law to establish rule of law in the country. Okay, so this is the major sources. So when you get a question, discuss the sources of Constitution of India, write about these sources and important provisions that we have borrowed from different successful constitutions of the world. Okay, but I have already told you that as Indian Constitution, although we have borrowed a lot of provisions from different constitutions, but it is not a copy-paste constitution to say, because we have modified the provisions, we have reviewed the provisions in a well-coordinated manner in the Constituent Assembly. Each and every provisions that was borrowed from different constitutions was discussed, debated, and deliberated upon by the honorable members. And they also brought certain modifications. There were certain committees also, they looked into the subject matter, and many modifications were made into the existing in the borrowed provisions, then were made to fit into the India's socio-political environment. So we have not blindly copy-pasted the Constitution, rather we have modified many terms, many provisions to suit it, or to make it conducive to India's socio-political environment. So we cannot say it is a copy-paste constitution, rather it is an original constitution built with ingredients from different successful constitutions of the world. Okay, this is all about we have discussed. Now we shall focus on the criticism on the Constitution of India. What are the critics say? What do critics say about our Constitution? Some critics label the Constitution for its larger size. They say that it is elephantine in size, large size, bulky Constitution, bulkiest Constitution in the world. Yes, they are right that our Constitution has become bulkier, but it has not become irrationally bulkier, intentionally bulkier. Rather, we have enlarged the Constitution to avoid any future conflicts and future doubts or any type of conflicts between the executive and legislature and judiciary and so on, vice versa. So the constitution has been lengthier. We have already discussed various reasons why the constitution has become lengthier. So we cannot say that constitution is that described as a elephantine size constitution is not a negative connotation, rather is a positive connotation. We have certain reasons to make it an elephantine constitution. Some critics say that it's a paradise of the lawyers by Sir Ivor Jennings, one of the prominent constitutionals, expert of Indian constitution. He said that it is a paradise of lawyer because most of the honorable members of the Constituent Assembly were lawyers, eminent lawyers of the time, which includes Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Badruddin Tayebji, Sardar Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, and many prominent persons were there who were established lawyers and established legal practitioners of the then India. Obviously, because lawyership was the only provision, was the very unique provision and master profession at that point of time, and the lawyers could have got more time to fight for freedom. So they knew the legal system, they studied the legal system, and it was easy for them to present demand for India, a demand for an independent India or a India-specific systems before independence also. So they had played rather enviable role in making freedom struggle a grand success, and also later, because there were number of leaders who fought for the country's freedom were lawyers. So obviously, because there were no other professions at that time, possibly there were no established professions except a few, and one of them was lawyership. So the presence of lawyers was a blessing in disguise in the Constituent Assembly. We have had a very good constitution, very you can say very resilient, most resilient constitution, but it has been made in such a manner. So thanks to the eminent lawyers who were present in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, then an on-Gandhian constitution. Gandhijim or Gandhi has been a father of the nation and has been the front runner of freedom struggle, and the Gandhian ideology is somewhat different from the present constitution. His ideologies, his thoughts have not been widely presented or widely found a place in the constitution. The reason it's history. The reasons are history. That is another separate thing to discuss. But for our purpose of study, remember, Gandhian philosophy, Gandhian principles are not widely represented, widely provided in the Constitution. Rather, it is confined or put aside into a corner of the Constitution, that is under DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policy. We had 5 to 6 provisions which are based or related to Gandhian ideology and philosophy. So hence the critics make it a point or make it a point to say that Indian constitution is merely an on-Gandhian constitution. But it is not to that extent on-Gandhian, because Gandhi after all wanted the welfare of the people and bonding of the people and development of the weaker section. Today we are having weaker section development, and there have been various parts like special provision for certain classes, especially SC and ST, of which Gandhi was a votary. Gandhi was always demanding more rights, more privilege to the lower class people, and constitution is very vocal about the provisions for the certain classes also, and also there are certain provisions for backward regions. So Gandhi was a votary of the development of the regions, and also village panchayat has been given constitutional status since 1992. So most of the provisions in the present constitution are directly or indirectly related to Gandhi and his ideology, his philosophy. So we cannot say that our constitution is purely on Gandhian constitution, although the constitution does not significantly place Gandhian ideologies or Gandhian thoughts in our constitution, in it. Okay. Next, a carbon copy of Government of India. As I told you, it's not a carbon copy exactly. It is copied. Most of the provisions are no doubt borrowed from the Government of India Act 35. It is one of the. It is the major source of Indian Constitution, no doubt. But we have borrowed. We have made a lot of modifications in the Act to make it suitable to India's socio-political and ambience after independence. For example, in Government of India Act 1935, the residuary powers were vested in the Governor General, but today in the Indian Constitution, the residuary powers are vested in the center, which is an elected government. So there are a lot of changes. Have been made in the Government of India Act 1935 before they are transferred to the Constitution of India. So we cannot say that Government of India Act 35 is a carbon, or Indian Constitution is a carbon copy or a copy paste of the Government of India Act 1935. That is wrong to say, wrong to label. That is the fact. Then a borrowed constitution, it is the same thing. It is not a borrowed constitution. But if the term borrowed is used negatively, then Indian Constitution is not a borrowed constitution. Rather, it is a constitution which has maintained its originality and Indianness to a large extent. It is not a borrowed constitution. So these criticisms are positive nature. They expose the loopholes in the constitution to some extent, but they are not as true as the sunlight. Okay, so that is the things. So with this we have completed the chapter salient features of Indian Constitution. We will now come to the questions that are based upon this chapter. Please follow the questions also. Okay, so we'll discuss question wise. Please look at the questions. First study the questions, then so what will be the answer to the questions? Which of the following is the source of powers for the organs of the government, executive, legislature? Which are the powers? Articles are the main source of powers, not the schedules. They give us the powers. A. Because articles tells us about the powers. If we say that I have a power to, I have a right to speak, right to express, then I get this power from 19(1)(a). So whatever powers we are talking about in a democratic country like ours, whether it is citizen, whether it is government, that is mentioned in an article first. So articles are the real source of power, not the schedules parts. These are the ingredients or the constituent parts of the constitution, but not source of powers rather. Okay. Next we shall come to the question number 2. Which of the following is not a feature of Indian federalism? Not a feature. First, always focus on whether it is not or not. Not or not. There is an independent judiciary in India. That is a federal aspect, because in a federation we find the independent judiciary. Powers have been clearly divided between the central and state. Okay, we can say like that. The federalism, and if you federating units means the states. Who are the federating units here described? Who are the federating units here described? Who are the federating units here described? They are states. States. We call them states. The federating units have been given unequal representation in the Rajya Sabha. Yes, unequal representation means the seat of Rajya Sabha, total number of seats vary from state to state, as you have noticed. So it is also correct, unequal representation. But it is the result of an agreement among the federating units. That is not true. India is not made a country by an agreement among the states. Rather, it has been a country. It has been a nationhood. It has been a sense. India is a feeling. It's a feeling of nationhood. So it has been there since time immemorial. We cannot say that it is made an agreement. So therefore, answer will be D. Answer will be D. All of you kindly note it, and if you face any difficulty, kindly bring to our notice. Okay, now question number 3. What is true of a republic? What is true? It is very easy for you. Those who are newcomers, you can just focus on the answer. You can better understand if you go through the options, and you can understand it. Republic, where the head of the state is elected, that is the foremost meaning of republic. That is the foremost meaning, most important, elected. The head of the state is hereditary? No. People participate in the governance directly. It can be, it cannot be, because it is not a direct democracy, so answer is A. But it's true of Indian Republic. True of Republic is that the head of the state is elected, yes, and people participate in the government through their representatives. Popular participation in the government. All right. We shall now go to question number 4. The Indian Constitution closely follows the constitutional system of UK. We can say UK because we have a parliamentary government. We have a parliamentary government, so to say, at the center. And the leadership of the Prime Minister, the parliamentary procedures, the integrated judicial system, everything with certain variants, certain changes. So answer is UK. Question number 5. Which of the following mainly determines that Indian constitution system is federal? A written and rigid constitution, okay. A written and rigid constitution can also be found in a unitary country, so it is not a foremost feature, but remember that is a feature also. Distribution of powers between the center and states, that is major aspects. If you talk about federation, we must keep in mind that there is a division of power. And that is the core principle of a federation, core principle of a federation. So division of power, that is there, B. Others are there, independent judiciary can also be possible. Single and flexibility of the constitution is not possible, that is completely rejected. But A and C and B are the options, they are positive, related to federal. They are related to federal, but they are one of the major is B. So answer will be B. Answer will be B. Okay? Kindly examine the questions well, try to understand it. The options are very important to understand. Okay, now we shall go to question number 6. The word secular found enshrined in the preamble to the Constitution of India means we are a secular state. We are a secular state because we have freedom of conscience, freedom of practice, propagate and profess a religion. So that is a secular concept of the state. I have already discussed different principles or different meanings of a secular country like India. So look at the options. The state protects all religions equally. Yes. The state does not uphold any religion. Matlab state will not encourage the promotion of any particular religion, although we are a Hinduized state. We are a Hinduized state. But we do not have provisions, special provisions for Hindus. It does not uphold any religion. Freedom of faith and worship is allowed to all the people, yes. That is under Article 25. Freedom of conscience and also liberty of thought, expression, belief, everything is there. In preamble it is mentioned, and also it is people are getting it from in 25. The state makes no discrimination on the basis of religion, that is under Article 15. So in this way, India is called a secular state. Which of the following is correct? All the above are correct. So answer will be 1, 2, 3, 4, D. Let's come to the Indian Constitution is regarded as, question number 7. Indian Constitution is regarded as, better description is federal in form, unitary in spirit. So better, most relevant option, that we are a federal in form, unitary in spirit. We look like a federal, but in fact, in most of the times, we act as a unitary country. Which of the following features of the Constitution of India does not resemble American Constitution? American Constitution के साथ कौन सा ऑप्शन मिलावट नहीं होता है, मतलब उसको एक तरह की नहीं है. अमेरिका में रिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, वी हैव रिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. अमेरिका में फेडरल गवर्नमेंट है, वी हैव फेडरल गवर्नमेंट. अमेरिका में फंडामेंटल राइट्स है, वी हैव फंडामेंटल राइट्स. अमेरिका में अपॉइंटमेंट गवर्नर अपॉइंटमेंट नहीं होता है, वो थोड़ा इलेक्टेड होते हैं. सो हियर द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन डज नॉट रिजेंबल द अमेरिकन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. सो आंसर विल बी डी. Kindly note take the point. Okay. Question number 9. Which is a feature of parliamentary form of government? Dissolution of the upper house, it is not a feature, because Rajya Sabha is not subject to dissolution, and leadership of the Prime Minister is a feature. President is the head of the government is not a feature. Separation of power is not absolutely a feature. We have separation of powers, but that is in a different form. The executive is a part of the constitution. We have certain doctrine of check and balance, and that is along with separation of powers. There's a complete separation of power is not a part of feature of Indian constitution. So answer will be B. The system of dual head in India is a replica of, means exact copy of UK, Britain, B. The concept of federation with strong center, that we have already discussed, D, Canada. Concept. All right. ठीक है. Now, question number 12. Universal adult suffrage is mentioned in Article 326 of the Constitution. 326A in Part 15. Which of the following is not correct? Not correct. There were 22 parts of the Constitution when it was adopted, yes. There were originally 8 schedules, yet there are 395 articles, yes. Originally Constitution did not contain a preamble, that is wrong, so answer is D. Because Constitution contained a preamble since the beginning, it has content. It is an original feature of Indian Constitution. Okay, kindly take a note of that. Okay. Now question number 14. Which of the among the following feature is not borrowed from the USA Constitution? The impeachment of the President under Article 61 is provided from the American Constitution. Post of Vice President, Article 63 is provided under Indian Constitution. Election of the President, Article 55 is also not a provision. It's not a provision. Removal of the judges is borrowed. So answer will be C. Election of the President is borrowed from the Irish Constitution, that we have borrowed, that we have already discussed. Method of election of the President is a feature of the Irish Constitution, that we have borrowed. So answer will be C. Answer will be C. Question number 15. Which of the following is not a federal feature in India? Independent judiciary, distribution of powers to governments, single citizenship. Not a federal feature. So obviously single citizenship is not a feature, because in a typical federation we had dual citizenship. Which is correctly matched? Nomination of members of Rajya Sabha, South Africa, no. Election of members of Rajya Sabha, Ireland, no. Office of the Governor, Canada, no. Concept of Republic, France is correct. Office of the Governor is borrowed from the Government of India Act 1935, so that is wrong. So Office of the Governor is Government of India Act, Government of India Act 1935. Election of Rajya Sabha members is from South Africa. and it is from Ireland. Kindly take a note of this. Okay. Which of the following articles contains the provision of universal adult suffrage that we have already discussed, repeated? So 326 answer B. Which among the following is incorrectly matched? Independent judiciary USA, advisory jurisdiction Canada, election of Rajya Sabha members Ireland, concurrent list Australia. So election of members is from South Africa, we have discussed C. Concurrent list Australia, the emergency provision is derived from Government of India Act 1935, B. Alright. Okay. Then question number 20, which of the following is an extra constitutional body? What do you mean by extra constitutional body? A body which is mentioned not in the constitution, or there is no specific article for this body. So National Commission for Backward Classes is a constitutional body under article 338, you can say 338B. Union Public Service Commission of India is article 315. Article 315. National Commission for Tribes is article 338A. So as you can see, these are constitutional bodies because there is a specific article under for them. But Lokpal of India is a statutory body, or you can say an extra constitutional body because it is established under Lokpal Act 2013, which came into effect in January, 14 January 2014. Okay, so answer is D. Okay, so that is the answer D. The Constitution of India can be amended by both simple majority and special majority. That is B. Okay. Now we shall go to question number 22. Which of the following parts constitute the philosophical part of the Constitution? As we have already discussed, part 3 and part 4 together constitute the philosophical part: justice, equality, liberty and fraternity. Which among the following is a feature of parliamentary form of government? Executive is responsible to legislature. Executive will survive until they have majority in the parliament. That is called executive is responsible to legislature. So answer is B. Okay? So 23. 24 joint sitting of parliament is provided under which article of the Indian Constitution? 108. We have borrowed it from Australian Constitution. So B. Okay. 25. Choose the correct option. Procedure established by law is mentioned in Article 21 of the Constitution, right? Procedure established by law is treated same as the due process of law is not right. Okay. It's treated as the due process of law in the US. No. Procedure established by law is mentioned in the Constitution. So I think option A will be the correct option. Option A will be the correct option. A will be the correct option. Okay, so this is the things about the chapter. We shall now start a new chapter as we have spacious time called Union and its territory. Union and its territory. Okay, so that is the with the chapter Union and State. We will start the new chapter Union and Territory as we have precious time. So Union and its territory, the first part of the Indian Constitution. In this chapter, we shall learn the evolution of states in India, how the states are evolved and how they have come to be 28 in number, and how the union territories have come up. The procedure of formation of new states in India, and also about the reorganization of states, Reorganization Act also. Then we shall also discuss changes in the name of state after independence, and also acquired territories of India, acquired territories. So we shall discuss a lot of things in this chapter. Okay? First, remember, territory is a basic element of the states. Territory is a basic element of the state. Without an independent sovereign territory, the state cannot be called a modern state in the true sense of the term. So here territory means the geographical territory which belongs to the state only. No other authority have claims over the territory. So territory is a basic unit therefore. On the other hand, the units of federation like the states, they do not have territorial integrity or territorial sovereignty. They do not have authority over their own territory, because the territory of the state is not considered territory of the state, rather it is considered territory of India. So that is why the state, that is the federating units, are not state in the true sense of the term, because they do not have territorial sovereignty. So in India, the states lack territorial sovereignty, and it means that they can be reformed, reorganized, and their boundaries can be altered, changed by an act of parliament. In a nutshell, we can say parliament is the sole authority to redraw the political map of India. To redraw the political map of India. Okay? So what are the provisions? Let us discuss what are the constitutional provisions related to this. As you know, the Union and its territories dealt with part 1, Article 1 to 4. So we shall have a summary look. We shall have a summary look on the provisions of the Constitution. Article 1 describes India as India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. This is the text used in the Article 1. India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. Here we get two things. One, India has two official names, constitutionally recognized names. One is India, another is Bharat. Another thing, that although Indian Constitution contains many federal features, although Constitution of India contains many federal features, yet it is not mentioned as federation. It is not mentioned as federation. Why? What are the reasons why Indian Federation is not mentioned as a federation of states in the Constitution? Because we are not a typical federation like America. We are not a typical federation like America. Rather, we are a quasi-federal country, and because that the states or the federation is not a product of an agreement among the states like America. The states in India do not have an agreement that to make Indian federation. They have been there. Another thing, the states or the units do not have power to run away from the Constitution. And for this reason, India is called a holding together a holding together federation, like Belgium, Spain, holding together federation. It is not a coming together federation. They were there, just they was declared as a part. So India, Belgium, Spain, India, Belgium, Spain, they are called holding together. America, France, Australia, they are called coming together federation. Coming together federation. So coming together federation means they came to under an agreement. So you can say USA, France, Australia, they are a coming together federation. And this is the reason why India is not mentioned as a federation of states. Kindly take a note of this. Okay? In clause article 1, subclause 1, in article 1, clause 1, there is a mention about Union of India, and in clause 2, mention about territory of India. Territory of India comprises territory of the states, union territories and acquired territories. The entire geographical territory of the state is called, India is called territory of India. But Union of India comprises only the territories of the states. So, territory of India is larger than Union of India. Territory of India is larger than the Union of India. Kindly take a note of this. Okay. So article 1 is covered. So gist of article 1 is that there are two official recognized names of India. Another is that India is not described as a federation of states. Then article 2. Article 2 deals with the admission and establishment of a new state. Means whenever a state which is not, whenever an area, whenever a region or an area which is not a state at present is declared or converted into a state or legalized as a state, then it will come under article 2. So article 2 does not pertain to the area of the existing states. Rather, it is related to the area which is not an existing state but is going to be declared as a state. So article 2 therefore deals with admission and establishment of new provinces, new states. Article 3. Article 3 deals with the formation of new states. Whenever the area of an existing state is bifurcated or reorganized, that comes under article 3. There are many things take place under article 3. Look at the points. What is carried on under Article 3? Carried out under Article 3. Formation of new state by separation of territory from the from any state, or by uniting two or more states or parts of state, or by uniting territory to a part of the state. Anything can come under it. By separating a territory, by merging a territory, by merging parts of certain states, a state can be bought. Increasing the area of a state by adding some territory to it, or diminishing by taking away some territory from it. Alteration in the boundaries of the state, political boundaries of the state. Alteration in the names of states. So Article 3 exclusively deals with the reorganization of an existing state or geographical territory of a state. All right? Is that clear? Okay. Then we shall discuss procedure for formation of new states. India is described as an indestructible union with destructible states. What does it mean? Indestructible union, indestructible union with destructible states. What is the meaning of that? Indestructible union means the center cannot be destroyed. That means the territorial integrity of the center cannot be loosened. But destructible state means the state can be destroyed. There is no fixed political boundary of the state, but there is fixed political boundary of India. It can be extended. The authority to change the territory of India lies with the center itself, but authority to change the boundary of the state does not lie with the state, rather with the center. And the political reorganization of the state, or the redrawing the political map of India, is a prerogative of the parliament. That is possible because it is a unitary or a quasi-federal setup. Then what is the procedures? What is the procedure of formation of new states? When a new state is formed in India, a bill is prepared called State Reorganization Bill. And that State Reorganization Bill requires prior recommendation of the President. But the President, before allowing the bill to be introduced in the Parliament, seeks the opinion of the State Council. The President consults the state or the state legislature and seeks its opinion, but the opinion tendered by the state are not binding upon the President. And there is no repeated consultation. Only one-time consultation is there. After that, the bill is introduced in either house of the Parliament, and it has to be passed separately by each house in simple majority. After the bill is passed in simple majority, then assented to it by the President. After it gets President, it becomes an act. The new state is declared to be formed. That is the procedure. So through the procedure, we can conclude that Parliament is the sole authority to redraw the political map of India. There is no other authority interfere in that. Therefore, sometimes you get a question in your OPSC or in civil service mains examination. India is an example of indestructible union with destructible states. In that answer, you have to mention these points. Okay. And these changes, whenever a new state is formed, the changes that are made under that is made in the Schedule 1, Schedule 1, and Schedule 2, Schedule 4, sorry, Schedule 4. This is the two changes made in the schedule, Schedule 1 and Schedule 4, are carried out in simple majority, not in special majority. That means, in the reorganization of states, any changes in the constitution made are not to be considered as constitutional amendment under Article 368. That is what mentioned in Article 4. Article 4 mentions that when a new state is formed, Schedule 1 and IBR change, such changes are not in accordance with the Constitution under Article 368. Got this point? Okay? Okay. Now, the thing is, which we have discussed, the constitutional provisions. Now we shall go to the procedure for the evolution of states. In this chapter, in this part, we shall deal with evolution. That is, the evolution of states since independence. There were different kind of structure. There were a typical structure prevalent at the time of independence. There were 4 types of states in India at present. There are 4 types of states. And the 4 types were called Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D states. Part A states dealt with British India provinces. Part B states dealt with the princely states. As I have noted, you can see it on the screen also. Part C states dealt with commissionerate provinces. And Part D states dealt with Andaman and Nicobar. There was a typical arrangement, as you can notice. There was a typical arrangement in existence at that time. And it was in the status 1950 to 1956. Just let me write clearly that these conditions prevailed from 1950 to 1956. And during this time, there was an effort made by prominent leaders, including Patel, for the merger of princely states in India. It was a Herculean task before the authorities. The princely states were given opportunity to join India, to join Pakistan, or to remain independent. Out of the 552 princely states, 549 had joined India, but 3 like Hyderabad, Jammu Kashmir and Junagadh. They joined later. Hyderabad joined in 1948 through police action, Junagadh in 1950 through referendum, and Jammu Kashmir by instrument of accession in 1947. So there was a need for reorganization of states after the merger of princely states. For this purpose, Government of India had to set up high-level committees for a reorganization, proper reorganization of states. S.K. Dhar Committee 1948 is the first committee on reorganization of states. Yes, Kumar Pintu, anything you want to ask me, you can write here. I'm able to see your writing. Okay, S.K. Dhar Committee is the first provincial linguistic committee. And it was chaired by Justice S.K. Dhar. It recommended against the common demand for the formation of states on the basis of language at that time. It rejected the idea of language as a basis of state because it would divide India into several parts. Then the Congress, Indian National Congress appointed JBP committee, popularly known as JBP 1948, also in the same year. Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel and Pattabhi Sitaramaya together formed JBP committee. The committee was also critical of language as a basis. It opposed language as a basis of the new formation of states in India because it would create fragments in India. But in the meanwhile, there was an incident, untoward incidents happened. Poti Sriramulu, the frontline leader of Andhra agitation for a separate state of Andhra, died in 1953. As a result, violence erupted across the state and the government was forced to create the first linguistic state in India, Andhra Pradesh, in 1953. Andhra Pradesh became the first linguistic state in India. With the creation of Andhra Pradesh, demands raised in nook and corner of the country for establishment of new state on the basis of their native language. To bring a compromise or to bring a permanent solution to the ongoing demands and issues, the Government of India appointed a high-level committee under the chairmanship of Justice Fazal Ali, which is popularly known as State Reorganization Commission. The State Reorganization Commission was a 3-member body including the chairman. Other members were H.N. Kunjru and K.M. Panikar were the members. There was the recommendation of the commission were many. We have noted here The preservation and strengthening of unity and security of the country was also the recommendations. Linguistic and cultural homogeneity should be there. Along with language, financial, economic and administrative consideration must be taken into account. Planning and promotion must be also be brought. So various points were focused by the Organization Commission, SRC. It recommended in India 16 states and 3 union territories. The recommendation of the Commission were 16 states and 3 union territories. And the recommendation of the Commission formed the basis of the State Reorganization Act. In 1956, the Act came into prominence, came into effect on November 1, 1956. It is a major State Reorganization Act in India. And the State Reorganization Act formed 14 states and 6 union territories. 14 states and 6 union territories. We shall examine that. There are Odisha, Andhra, Assam, Bihar, Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Kerala, and Mysore, Tamil Nadu. There are 14 states and 6 union territories like Andaman, Nicobar Island, Delhi, Lakshadweep, Lakadweep, Amindivi and Minicoy, Manipur, Tripura and Himachal Pradesh were also union territories in 1956. So we had 14 states and 6 union territories at the time of Reorganization of States Act 1956. Then different states were reorganized and different states were formed to continue in the list. Today we have 28 states. So I have presented it, the evolution of states after 1956 in a tabular format. For your easy reference, you can see it. I have mentioned in rank of the state means the 15, 16 rank, then formation year, then name of the state, bifurcated or status of the states. Just have a brief look, we shall brief idea about that. After the closing of 14 states in India, including Odisha also, the first state that was reorganized was Bombay province. Bombay comprising of Gujarati and Marathi people. So Gujarat got bifurcated as a 15th state of India in 1960. It was bifurcated from Bombay, and I think the same year Bombay became Maharashtra also. Then with regard to 16th state, it was established in 1963. It was Nagaland. It was bifurcated from Assam. So Assam से 4 state आया है, तो that is 1, Assam 1, 4 states. And 17th state was Haryana, that is Punjab. Remember, for 16 states, 13th Constitutional Amendment Act was enacted, and 371A, Article 371A has been added by 13th Constitutional Amendment Act to give Nagaland as a special status. That remember 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. Then the S12 state of Punjab was bifurcated. Punjab was a bilingual, mostly Hindi speaking and Punjabi speaking people. Hindi speaking people got bifurcated from it and came to be known as Haryana. And it became a 17th state. Punjab was already there out of the 14 states. The bifurcation and reorganization of Punjab was done on the recommendation of the Justice Saha Commission appointed in 1966. Saha Commission had recommended for the bifurcation of Haryana and Punjab and merger of hilly tracts of Punjab along with Himachal Pradesh. So Haryana became the 17th state in 1966. It was bifurcated from Punjab. Then after the merger of certain hilly tracts of Punjab with Himachal Pradesh, the size of the territorial size of the state, Himachal Pradesh grew. Hence, it was accorded the status of a state in 1971. It became an 18th state on 25th January, if I remember. Then 19th state became Manipur in 1972, 20th state Tripura in 1972. They were union territories, and 21st state 1972. So in 1972, 3 states were formed. And 21st state was Meghalaya, and it was Assam 2. Then your 22nd state, 1975, Sikkim had a had a brief history. It was ruled by Chogyal dynasty, and it remained a protectorate state till 1975. It remained a protectorate state under Indian Army. Then a 35th Constitutional Amendment Act was enacted, which conferred the status of an associate state to Sikkim with special provisions by adding Article 2A and Schedule 10 also. But immediately the amendment was nullified, and 36th Amendment Act was successfully brought by Parliament, and which conferred full state status to Sikkim. And also 371F has been added to grant special status to Sikkim. So 22nd states. Then 23rd state, 24th state, 25th state were built in the same year 1987. Mizoram, so Assam 3 and Assam 4. 4 states have been carved out of Assam, and Goa became the 25th state. Goa was not a territory of India, it was a Portuguese territory, and it was a union territory in 1962. And in 1987, Goa became a state and Daman Diu remained union territory. Then 26th state was Chhattisgarh, 27th state was Uttarakhand, 28th state was Jharkhand. They were built in 2000 in the same year, and they were bifurcated, as you can see, from Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar respectively. Then 29th state was Andhra Pradesh. Telangana, it was bifurcated from Andhra Pradesh in 2014. Justice Sri Krishna Commission was appointed to look into the provisions, formation. So in this way, India had 29 states until 2019, but after the enactment of Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, which came into existence on 31st October 2019, India had 28 states, because Jammu Kashmir is now not a state, rather a union territory. So we shall discuss that. Now we shall focus certain changes. Remember, the changes of the name of state can be done by the parliament alone. There is a bill also passed in simple majority, and since independence there have been many states who have their name changed. United Province Uttar Pradesh is the first state after independence to have its name changed. Madras became Tamil Nadu in 1969, Mysore in Karnataka 1973, Lakshadweep, Minikoy became Lakshadweep in 1973, then Union Territory of Delhi became National Capital Region in 1992 by 69th Constitutional Amendment Act, Orissa became Odisha in 2011, Puducherry 2006 and Uttarakhand 2007, not 6 exactly, it came into prominence sometimes. 2007 we can say better. Okay. These are the things, but only the change in the names is covered, not change in the name of the cities, change in the name of the other things. Another major aspect of union and territories is acquired territories. Acquired territories means that after independence, Government of India acquired certain territories from other European traders, European rulers. So some tiny portions of the country were remained under different European rulers like Portuguese and French, and it was that called acquired territories. We have taken a note of the 3 categories that were acquired by India after independence. So first, the territories that they were acquired by India, I have listed it, that is Dadra Nagar Haveli, and Dadra Nagar Haveli was acquired by India in 1954. So past territories were acquired Dadra Nagar Haveli, and it was acquired in 1954. It became a union territory by 10th Constitutional Amendment Act 1961. That is 10th Constitutional Amendment Act were enacted, because whenever a territory is acquired by India, a special Constitutional Amendment Act is carried out to give to render a status of union territories. So that's why the Amendment Act was enacted. So only merger of territory with India will not help. There will be a constitutional amendment probably in Beruvari case 1960. The Constitution, the Supreme Court has made it clear that whenever any territory is acquired by India, there will be a territory is acquired by India or ceded to other countries or merged with India, then there will be a Constitutional Amendment Act under Article 368. So accordingly, 10th Constitutional Amendment Act. Then you can see also the Goa Daman Diu were acquired in 1961 by police action, and they became union territories by 12th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962. Later, in 1987, then Goa became a separate state and Daman Diu remained. Then in Pondicherry, Mahe, Yanam, Karaikal, the 4 territories that I have mentioned, they were in 1954 and they became union territories by 14th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962. In this way, 3 major territories were merged with India after independence, that we name it acquired territories. So whenever any territory is acquired by India, there will be a Constitutional Amendment Act and that is the things we have to remember, and remember the year also in which they were acquired, and then through the amendments, the constitutional amendments that were made to render the status of a union territories to them. Well, so these are the things. So next I think we shall discuss these territorial parts. Next class we shall continue with this, and we shall cover some parts of the State Reorganization Act, and also we shall have a look at the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, which are also outstanding because it has brought certain changes in the Constitution and abolition of various parts also, like Part 7 and Part 9. I have forgotten to tell you that Part A states were in the Part 6 of the Constitution. Part B states were in the Part 7 of the Constitution. Part C states were in the Part 8 of the Constitution, and Part D states were in the Part 9 of the Constitution. These were the different parts which remained in different parts of the Constitution. Later only 2 parts remained. One is Part 6, another is Part 8. Other 2 parts like Part 7 and Part 9 were abolished by 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, because in place of 4 types of states, we adopted 2 types of provisions. One is state, another is union territories. Okay, so in this part we shall discuss. Now the remaining part will take some time. We shall take State Reorganization Act, then 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, then you have Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act also, which brought. But let me tell you that after the merger of Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act, several number of states was reduced from 29 to 28, and also 29 to 28. And later in 2021, there was a merger of Daman, Diu and Dadra Nagar Haveli. And that after the merger of the 2 union territories, the existing number of union territories has remained to 8. So today we have 8 union territories. Okay, we shall take a brief look at the things in the next class. For the time being, let me bid you goodbye. Thank you very much for watching us and following us also. We are eagerly waiting and awaiting your constructive comments on the issue. Thank you very much.